The main event of last night's Elimination Chamber saw Shayna Baszler enter at number 4, where she proceeded to choke out Sarah Logan, choke out Ruby Riott, choke out Natalya. But wait, here comes Liv Morgan. She's been getting kind of a push on Raw recently. Nope, Shayna's also choking out Liv Morgan. After toying with Morgan in front of Asuka for several minutes, while Asuka yelled things like, "Baka, baka, baka," and "Goyu, goyu, goyu." Let me just run that through Google Translate. That means angry in Japanese. The Empress of a few years ago was the final entrant from her pod to also be choked out by Shayna. This is a first-time WWE record, as Baszler is the first person in the Chamber's 18-year history to eliminate every other person in the match. So why did Shayna bury the rest of the Raw Women's division, not called Charlotte or Becky Lynch? While Asuka was recovering from a legitimate wrist injury, which is why she had to be replaced in a Raw match by Kairi Sane last Monday, and likely one of the reasons she entered last in the chamber here, the answer is simply to make Baszler look as strong as possible heading into her WrestleMania match against Lynch. WrestlingNews.co is reporting that all the booking for the chamber match was actually from Raw's executive director Paul Heyman. They claim Heyman felt that Shayna as the winner was very predictable, and everyone at home already knew she was going to emerge victorious. So Paul decided it was better to just have her go through everyone to put her over as a monster heel. This was actually the chamber booking Heyman wanted to do almost 15 years ago. The last time he had creative control of a WWE brand was the relaunched ECW back in 2006. Despite early promise, it quickly became apparent this wasn't the extreme ECW everyone wanted back from the 90s, but a sanitized WWE version. Heyman wanted to correct this by putting the title on a very young CM Punk in an Elimination Chamber match at December to Dismember. Such a hard title to say, with him beating Bobby Lashley, Hardcore Holly, Rob Van Dam, Test, and the then champion Big Show. Vince McMahon apparently vetoed that booking though, putting the title on Lashley instead. The fallout saw Heyman escorted from the arena immediately following the show, pulled from the creative team, and blamed for slumping television ratings and a disgruntled talent roster. He was wished well in all his future endeavors and wouldn't return to the promotion for over 5 years as the advocate for other young up-and-comer Brock Lesnar. Apparently backstage, the same McMahon cold feet was in danger of happening again. The Wrestling Observer had reported on Thursday that Vince was very down on seeing Shayna wrestle Kairi Sane on Monday's Go Home episode of Raw, thinking she didn't have the presence and crowd reception befitting of a WrestleMania main eventer. This was amidst a frantic last-minute rewriting of last Monday's Raw by McMahon, who has been busy with the XFL launch in recent weeks, which just so happened to coincide with some of Raw's best episodes in years. If only there was some trend we could interpret from this. The Wrestling Observer has now revealed exactly which segment saw McMahon's input, with his return backstage making such inspired creative changes, like Aleister Black suffering his first loss on TV, having Ricochet lose to Riddick Moss for the 24/7 title instead of R-Truth, just 4 days after Ricochet's 90-second squash to Brock Lesnar at Super Letdown, and having Eric Rowan reveal that the thing in his cage the last few months has been a fake-looking animatronic spider that the kayfabe characters are meant to believe is real. Wrestling! Thanks for your support on Patreon, the $100 Man CD Horver. Maybe with the experience of missing Punk's talent for about 6 years last time, Vince let Heyman book Baszler overly strong in the hope of creating a new star. And to celebrate the decision, WWE closed the chamber with everyone's new favorite game. Where's the WrestleMania sign?
Yay!
It's right there! Shayna's pointing right at it because that's where she's going to have a match now. And while it did make Asuka, Natalya, and the Riott Squad look weak, sometimes you've got to pick your battles. Baszler isn't yet an established star in the mainstream audience's eyes. Having her run through all her chamber opponents in history-making fashion is a very effective step to solidify her as a threat to Lynch's title, especially when you add in her 3-way victory in the main event of Survivor Series and her tying Bianca Belair's Women's Royal Rumble elimination records at 8 in January, a match she was originally scheduled to win just 10 days beforehand, but McMahon changed his mind to Charlotte. I'm detecting a pattern. I know it sucks that Asuka was put away so easily. I hate that too, and that the rest of Raw's women's division looks so weak, but sometimes you've got to push what needs pushing, and making Baszler look so dominating to build a big WrestleMania match with Lynch is the highest priority for the Raw women's division right now. But that didn't stop the crowd booing the hell out of it. While you could slightly hear the crowd's boos on the WWE Network broadcast, apparently the reaction live in the Wells Fargo Center was far more severe, with Brian Alvarez tweeting, "Philly crowd apparently turning on this show bad live." Going by the live reactions, many found the waiting time behind the next entries boring, as Shayna would run through people so quickly, creating two several-minute periods of Baszler just standing around doing nothing. This frustrated fans so much, some reportedly even left before the end of the show, which is very rare for pay-per-view events. Philadelphia is regarded as one of the best wrestling fan cities in the world, and the relatively low-energy audience for the show throughout is a sign that WWE's booking killed the crowd, making it a very interesting case of fully well knowing the match was bad, but pushing ahead to make a wrestler look strong. Hopefully the same won't happen at their biggest show of the year, WrestleMania, because it's being reported WWE have changed a number of plans for the card yet again. Now, before we get on with the rest of the news, I'd like to say a big thank you to this episode's sponsor, Surfshark VPN, which you can get 83% off using our promo code WrestleTalk. Click the link in the video description below to go there, and a whole month free, unlocking the best price in the market. Because it's 2020. You know what that means. We're living in the future and all hackers are stealing your identity right now. So get a VPN to secure your life, and also you can watch stuff from other countries you can't normally access. It's really good. Not that seeing Baby Yoda is more important than preventing your bank account from being hacked, but it's nice you can do both with the same service. And with their smart DNS feature, you can use it on your PlayStation and Xbox too. One of the most genius features though, which I haven't seen anywhere else, is that you can whitelist certain sites to bypass the VPN, which is really useful for banking apps that don't allow them. So get 83% off your Surfshark VPN and a month free now by clicking the link in the video description below. It really helps support us here at WrestleTalk when you do, so please at least click the link and check them out. While the Raw side of WrestleMania has been pretty concrete for a few months now, with Lesnar vs McIntyre, Baszler vs Lynch, Orton vs Edge, and AJ vs Undertaker, the Smackdown card has been a state of almost constant flux. We've already seen the brand's top match of Roman Reigns vs The Fiend for the Blue Universal Championship split into Reigns vs Goldberg and Bray Wyatt vs John Cena, and now the SmackDown Women's Championship has also undergone changes in recent weeks. After doing the originally reported Mania match of Naomi vs Bayley at Super Letdown, Alex McCarthy of TalkSport is now reporting, "A source tells me the plan for the SmackDown Women's title at WrestleMania 36 is a six-pack challenge right now. Bayley vs Sasha vs Naomi vs Lacey Evans vs Carmella. That's 5 of the 6 names. So who's the 6th participant in the challenge? It seems we can rule out both Alexa Bliss and Nikki Cross because WWE have just remembered they've got Women's Tag Team Championships. I asked if Alexa Bliss was the other, but I'm told Bliss and Cross will challenge Kabuki Warriors in addition to the Divas of Doom in a 3-way tag. Sasha vs Bayley was an original plan, but I'm told Sasha's injury caused them to change course. The Divas of Doom, lest we forget, are Natalya and Beth Phoenix, and Bliss appears to have confirmed the report by starting the build on the Soch. Me looking for the Women's Tag Team titles representation like, our Women's Tag Division has some of the most talented women on the roster. Where you at, Kabuki Warriors? With a gif of Joey from Friends looking around like, where are the Women's Tag Team titles? And following up with, but Asuka, leave your green mist at home. It's a coward move, and my extensions are way too expensive to be stained by green food coloring. Hashtag defend those titles. To which Asuka herself simply replied, bar face emoji! And a gif of her saying, I'm hungry. Sasha vs Bayley being the original SmackDown Women's title plan contradicts contradicts what many others have reported, and McCarthy adds they might have held off their major singles pay-per-view match because both women have told me before they wouldn't get the time they need on a Mania card, so I can definitely believe that. But while WWE have an Elimination Chamber and NXT did 2 steel cage matches on last week's episode, how can All Elite Wrestling possibly compete? By doing a mixture of all of that with 2 steel cages next to each other with the middle knocked through, a lid on the top, and people entering from different teams in a staggered timing. It's War Games. I'm talking about War Games. But AEW certainly aren't, because they don't own the rights to it. Instead, they've called the stipulation Blood and Guts, after Vince McMahon's dismissal of AEW's, quote, Blood and Guts product comments from last summer. And now they've also announced the participants for the match, revealing on the 25th of March episode of Dynamite, the Inner Circle of Chris Jericho, Jake Hager, Sammy Guevara, Santana, and Ortiz will go up against the Elite of Cody, Hangman Page, Kenny Omega, and the Young Bucks. In the spirit of fairness, as I've criticized WWE for this many times, making huge announcements like this on social media is far inferior to dramatically announcing it or setting it up in an angle on TV. So Hangman Page is trying to create his own one on Twitter, first posting, "Is it for fuck's sake or for fuck's sake? I need to know for my next tweet. Grammar slam!" And then following it up with, "For fuck's sake," with an apostrophe. Thanks for clearing that up, CM Punk. And pictures of Jericho and Guevara versus him and a mystery tag partner for this week's Dynamite. Taken to AEW confirmed. And the Blood and Guts announcement with him and the Elite faction that he hates 40% of. Speaking of percentages, Samoa Joe at Sacrifice segue. After it was reported Scott Steiner collapsed backstage at Friday's Impact Wrestling tapings, the genetic freak underwent a heart procedure over the weekend. Thankfully, according to Tommy Dreamer on Twitter, the odds are looking good. Scott Steiner is expected to make a full recovery. Thank you for all your concerns and prayers. 99% life and 1% death equals genetic freak Steiner math continues. Holler if you hear me. Hashtag Big Papa Pomp. The brand new episode of our wrestling RPG series with Adam Blompier, No Rolls Barred, is live now. Click the video on the right for the weirdest episode yet, and watch Luke's full Elimination Chamber review by clicking the video below that. I've been Ollie Davis, and that was wrestling.